Whiskey Jason here, whiskey from the viewpoint of an American over here in Europe and Germany, tasting rare and exotic whiskeys. I have here James E. Pepper Barrel Proof Decanter Kentucky Straight Bourbon Whiskey. Now, the one thing I dislike is on the back of the bottle it says bottled by James E. Pepper on the front, but it does say distilled at. So I read the back and I go, oh no, it's source whiskey. I read the front, oh, it is their own juice, and it is their own juice. Whiskey base number 246231. So I have batch number 46. So they've done 46 batches of this already. Now, the interesting thing is they still hand bottle at the distillery. I was there in August 2024, and it's just like one of the things that I'm thinking about at the moment. How many bottles do the distilleries actually produce themselves? If they're still hand bottling, it's not going to be that many. If they have a bottling line, it's going to be more. So, all right. Now, many of us do know James E. Pepper a little bit because there was a James E. Pepper 1776. 1776 was the year that Colonel James E. Pepper says that his family started their distillery. And James E. Pepper Distillery, before they had their own juice, I was at the distillery in August, as I said. I tasted their, it was a bottle and bond. I think it was a rye. I had a single malt there. I had a bourbon. I had this. I had a few little things. They're doing interesting things there. Very, very good. But they still have the 1776 source whiskeys that they still promote and they still sell and they're still making money with that. And all right, good. But this is their own stuff. This was modeled after a bottle that was actually produced by the James E. Pepper Distillery in 1945, right after the Second World War basically ended here. Let's talk about Colonel James E. Pepper for a second. All right, this guy was a character. He was born 1850, he died 1906, so not very old, basically how old I am now. And he was a little bit, they say, a larger than life person. Flamboyant, promoter of the family brand, an industrialist, and he made bourbon. All right. He was the third generation to produce Old Pepper whiskey. And the slogan was the oldest and best brand of whiskey made in Kentucky. All right. So his namesake distillery in Lexington, Kentucky, built in 1880, was said to be, and this is interesting, the largest and most technologically advanced whiskey distillery in the USA at that time, 1880. Now, Colonel James E. Pepper, he actually petitioned the state of Kentucky to allow distilleries to bottle their own whiskeys. Now, this is weird. Why can't they distill there? Why can't they bottle their own whiskeys? Now, we have Brown-Forman, the company with Old Forester. They were basically the first company to bottle whiskey. Now, they did not make whiskey back then, 1870 it must be. They actually bought whiskeys from different distilleries and they bottled it, and they actually put a seal on top of it so that people were not being poisoned by rectified prune juice with tobacco juice with vodka in it and so on. Now, James E. Pepper's petitioned the state of Kentucky, hey, let us as distilleries not just sell our barrels to rectifiers and they can bottle it, let us be able to bottle it as well. And so that law was passed. And he actually put this so-called stamp over top of this here, the strip stamp seal. It wasn't a tax stamp yet. It was his signature on it. And Colonel James E. Pepper would actually sue the people who made counterfeit bottles, not for having counterfeit whiskey, but for counterfeiting his signature, which was on that strip stamp seal. I mean, that's talking about an inventive, innovative guy here. All right, so there were forgery laws, but there weren't really laws about making bad whiskey. That came 1897, where he and many, many other people advocated a change in the laws, the first Consumer Protection Act in the United States. It wasn't dairy products, it wasn't meat products, it wasn't even the food, any type of food. It was alcohol. And so he was able to help ensure the purity and the identity of the whiskey in the bottle with the Bottle and Bond Act. So he was also a horseman. And the thing that I liked is Colonel Pepper actually traveled in a ornate private rail car called the Old Pepper. It was painted with images of his whiskey on it. He spent a lot of time and went broke up at the Waldorf Astoria Hotel in Manhattan. He socialized with other people of the time, John D. Rockefeller, Theodore Roosevelt, Vanderbilt, Charles A. Pillsbury, Fred Pabst, Mr. Tiffany, and William Steinway. So it was actually at the Waldorf that Colonel Pepper popularized the old-fashioned in New York City. So he did go broke. He lost everything, all the horses, all the distillery, everything. He died. His wife bought everything back, the horses, and actually with that horse money that she got from racing later on, she bought back a lot of the brands and a lot of the whiskey there. But that's a whole different story. All right, so this hit the market 2023, and I very much like it. So let's go over here to my comparison whiskey. I almost always compare something. I picked out something. This is 53%. This is 53.5. This is pure Kentucky XO. This is actually, still says on the back of the label, 12 years. But it does say on the label here, distilled, aged, and bottled in Kentucky. This is a Willet product, and this product is not made by Willet itself. This is still a sourced brand that I have here. All right, so tiny little bit about this whiskey, the James E. Pepper barrel proof. I don't know how they can make 46 batches. It says here on the label, uncut, unfiltered, but how can you get 46 batches exactly at 53% without adding any water? That's a mystery to me. Good. The whiskey itself. So this was something that I kind of was interested in. They have a unique blend. Blend is often for me from other distilleries. They're using for other mash bills. All right, this is a blend of our older stocks and distinct mash bills consisting of corn, rye, malted barley, and malted rye. So this is the 4 grain. They have malted rye, malted barley, normal rye, unmalted, and corn in here. All right, they do aged in new toasted and charred barrels. Very interesting. From Kentucky oak, which I thought was interesting because a lot of people use Ozark, which it could be Arkansas, Mississippi, Missouri oak. No, it's Kentucky oak. And they're air seasoned for a minimum of 18 to 24 months. Their water is sourced from the well, which they use there in Lexington, Kentucky. By the way, DSPKY 5. Now, these numbers 5, that's very interesting. There are different districts in Kentucky back then, so you could actually have up to 6 different DSPKY 5s in the world, or in Kentucky. But yeah, they have the number 5 number here, and this has an average age is over 5 years. What is average age? All right, so they should, and it's bottled straight from the barrel, uncut and unfiltered. On the nose, I get cinnamon, I get dried apricots, I get wood, and I get a nice little nutmeg moment. I get oak, but more nutmeg. They say I should be getting, at least according to the mash bill, according to the website here, they say on the nose I should get toasted oak and walnuts. So as a comparison, let's go to the pure Kentucky XO. Now this is darker. This has more of a wood moment. It is 12 years of age. It's unfair, but I didn't have anything else with a 53% range that I wanted to compare in front of the camera. This is fruitier. This is more dried wood moments. All right, 53%. Let's try it. I was stingy with the amount of whiskey I put in there, sorry. Love the bottle. Now, on the shelf, stores don't love this bottle. I can get 3 of these bottles in the same space. I need 2 of these in the shelf. This does take up extra shelf space. Now, this is their inaugural release, basically, of their own distillate, their own juice, so why not? But otherwise, it's like, nah, let's see if we can change that. Um, mm, as I mentioned, there's a fruitiness, dried apricots. I get a little bit of a tartness, like almost like a um, cranberry tartness without the sourness coming in there. I like this. This is a B minus whiskey for taste. I don't get the malted rye. There's just a tad bit of there. They don't give us the mash bill because they're throwing together different mash bills, different barrels with different mash bills, just blending them together of their own stock. And so they just say they're corn, rye, barley, and malted rye. This is good. Now, $65 is not a whole lot. Now, it's not cheap like Wild Turkey 101, but $65 is also not too expensive. I think this is a good value for money. I'm going to give it a solid C. Now, just because the bottle design is great. My question of the day is going to be literally, what is the most beautiful bottle you've seen for whiskey? All right, now I know you're going to put out a Dalmore 60 or a whatever, then 65, these crystal decanters and so on. I mean a bottle that costs under $200. All right, so what is the most beautiful bottle you've seen under $200? This is going to be up there. I really, really like this a lot. All right, so even the bottom, they have here the Old Pepper. There's that information there. I think that was ingeniously done here. The little neck label here with that information with the batch number and so on. So it says here we should have notes of caramel, toasted oak, and nut. I don't get the nuttiness. They talk about on the palate the oak, the dried dark fruits, and marzipan. Fred Minnick would be happy to hear the word marzipan in a whiskey here. It's a good finish, and they talk about the medium long with notes of creamy vanilla, citrus peel, don't get the citrus peel, and nutmeg. I might get the nutmeg here. What I did not, it has a little bit of a bite at the end as well. There's a little bit of an alcohol bite. So what I'm going to do, and I'm probably going to Jason, I'm just going to do it anyways, is I'm going to add a little bit of water. I'm going to take it down to like 50%, make it a bottom bond product, and see what happens. It does open up the nose a little bit. I get more of that orange peel. I don't get citrus peel, I get orange peel. Mm. Mm. It did open up. There's a little bit more vibrancy in there. There's also a little bit more of oak. The oak astringency was leveled up. That's good whiskey, as I said. B. Value for money, C. Good stuff. Now, just for me, because sometimes I need that comparison, I'm just going to go over here for the Pure Kentucky XO and just take a sip of this to make sure that this really is better. Mm. Mm. First of all, they're very different. This is a more traditional bourbon, darker, richer, more wood. This is more of a lighter, fruitier, vibrant whiskey. Both are good. This is better. All right. So what is your personal opinion about James E. Pepper Barrel Proof Kentucky Straight Bourbon? And my question of the day is, and still remains, what is the most beautiful bottle of whiskey you've ever seen under $200? All right. And this will be up there, and it might just win. Thank you very much for watching, liking, subscribing, telling others about this crazy guy over in Germany. Often reviewing rare and exotic whiskeys and even American whiskeys at the moment, since I brought home a boatload of whiskeys from the States. Bye-bye.